Hello, good morning and welcome to my channel, the XJW Freedom Fighter channel, which I devoted to exposing the wrong teachings, false teachings of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And for today, we are on the continuation of my series about the ever-changing doctrines of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And for this episode, what I'm going to discuss is the very recently changed teaching of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And this pertains to the grasshoppers of Prophet Joel, book of Prophet Joel chapter 2. For so many years ago, the Jehovah's Witnesses has teach to their members and to the others, to their Bible studies, that the grasshoppers being mentioned in the book of Joel chapter 2, which is in chapter 2, that book, refers to them. According to them, it refers to them as Jehovah's army and attacking the lies and the doctrines or the strongholds of the Babylon the Great, which is, according to them, the world empire of false religion. Yes, the Jehovah's Witnesses refers to the other religion as a part of what they call Babylonian the Great, the world empire of false religions. So for so many years, it is their understanding, and it is that those grasshoppers refers to them. But in this year 2020, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses has come up with another way on how to explain the grasshoppers of Joel chapter 2. According to David Splain, one of the members of the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body, they have changed that explanation, because according to him, it is very obvious. So without further ado, let's watch him in this short video clip in order for us to know what has inspired them to change their former view or understand or teaching about the grasshoppers of Joel chapter 2. Let's watch him.
We might think of this illustration or this explanation and say, well, that's obvious. This explanation is obvious. Why didn't we see it before? And the answer is yes, it's obvious when Jehovah's time for us to understand it comes along.
So from that video clip, and also from the April 2020 of the edition of the Watchtower magazine, which is the leading magazine of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the study article entitled An Attack from the North, which they have studied on the week of June 8 to 14. They have explained there in detail how did they come up with their newest explanation regarding the grasshoppers of Joel chapter 2. So if we will scrutinize or examine the attitude of the governing body regarding this changed doctrine of the religion. According to what we have watched, David Splain has said that the explanation was in the Bible all this time. For example, he cited Joel chapter 2 verse 20, in which, according to him, the locus of being discussed at verses 1 to 10 of that chapter refers to the Babylonian army led by Nebuchadnezzar II when they attacked the nation of Israel. So for them, for their as their new explanation, that is their new explanation regarding the grasshopper. The grasshoppers refer to the Babylonian army. And by saying that the real explanation or the right understanding about the grasshopper was already there all this time. And he uses many times the word obvious. So when we think about the English word obvious, it refers to a thing that is readily conceivable or was already in the surface, and there is no further explanation or other way of deeper proving or research should be done, because it was already in the surface. It is obvious. But then David is saying that that obvious thing for the outsider or non-Jehovah's Witnesses people became elusive to them for so many times. And who is he blaming for this? Well, as we have watched, he said that it is not yet the time. All those years, on those years that has passed, it is not yet the time for Jehovah to disclose to them or to reveal to them the real explanation of the grasshopper of Joel chapter 2, even though that true explanation was already there and very obvious. So, can we safely say that he is blaming God for all those years that they are teaching the wrong explanation about the grasshoppers of Joel 2? That would be the logical conclusion for his statement. So, at the end, it will turn out that he is putting the blame on Jehovah himself, because all those years Jehovah is teaching his people false information. Because on those years, while the governing body is holding on and teaching, propagating this kind of teaching, they are claiming on those years that all their teachings came from Jehovah himself. So, in this kind of explanation, he is again, the governing body is again evading the blame for teaching the wrong explanation, a wrong explanation in their theology. They are putting the blame again to Jehovah, to God himself. So, that is the case with this newest change and their teaching. So, if we will re-examine his newest explanation and their newest explanation again about the grasshopper of Joel chapter 2, the question is, have they arrived to the right explanation about the grasshoppers of Joel 2? Well, the explanation about it is very obvious there in Joel chapter 2. For example, if we will re-examine silently and carefully the descriptions that God has given to the swarm of locusts he mentioned at Joel chapter 2 verses 1 to 10, it is very clear there in his descriptions that he is referring to a literal swarm of locusts, to the literal insect, which will give a devastating damage to the livelihood of his erring people if they will not repent from them from their sins. And that kind of explanation is very appropriate, because in the past God has already used that kind of insect to punish not only his people but also his enemies. If we will remember, one of the 10 plagues that God has used in punishing Pharaoh and the 10 commandments are in the Exodus, in the book of Exodus. God has used this kind of insect to punish the Egyptians for not letting his people or to worship him and their promised land. So that is the case. And also, if we will consider the context and the verse 25 of Joel chapter 2, God has used four nouns there that refers to the stages and the life cycle of that insect. So, it's the governing body wants us to believe, or they want us to believe that the Babylonian has brought to them their little children to attack the Israelites, to join them in their war campaign. It is a very or impossible scenario to put it on this very case that we are discussing here. So, again, verse 25 of Joel chapter 2 refers to the literal insect, because the writer there, or prophet Joel, has used this life stages of that insect. It will only refer to the literal insect, not to any other thing. So this will summarize. I hope I have summarized the confusion the confusion and the way the governing body is teaching their people, and as usual, they are evading the blame from all the wrong teachings that they have taught their followers in the past. And until now, they have not yet arrived to the proper explanation of the things they are trying to explain. So, once again, I want to thank you, dear viewers, and I just hope I have added a new dimension on how you view the religion of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Thank you, and if you are new and watching my videos, please subscribe, and please share my videos to your friends and relatives so that they can have the benefit I was intended for the general public while I'm doing these videos. Thank you.